It's race day. Welcome, race fans, to a showcase of driving perfection. My name's Webbo, and let's get down trackside. Hold on tight, we're gonna go for it. Boom, that's how it's done. Whoa, easy. Surely not all the way around the outside. Oh yeah, we're cooking now. Shake and bake, baby. Shake and bake. This is a roller coaster of emotions. The drivers are pushing their machines to the limit and beyond. Woo, it doesn't get any better than that. We wait for the lights, the revs build, and so does the excitement. And it's drop the clutch and go, go, go! Okay, driver, it's hammer time. This driver is an artist, and the racetrack is their canvas. Did you see that? Did you see that? Wow! Let's watch it again. Ooh, hopefully they'll get away with that one. What a great start, and it looks like we can build on this now and really make a good race of it. There's the fastest lap, folks. No mercy on the menu today. Yeah, sideways is rarely ever faster, but you do get style points. And we roll the safety car dice. Leave them alone. They know what they're doing. Someone's gone bowling into turn one. What a shocker. Moving left, jinking right, keep them guessing. Lawn mowing as a side gig. And we go down the inside, Danny Rick style. We're on the edge of our seats here, folks. The racers are pushing their limits, risking it all for that coveted first place position and the all-important win. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The two cars ahead are fighting with each other. It's slowing them down. And through we go! That driver is a complete and total. A word has not been invented to describe how complete and total they are. But they are one, and a complete and total one at that. And it all comes down to this, the final lap. If you smell what this driver is cooking. This seems like as good a time as any to ask if you've subscribed yet. There's your Grand Slam, pole, fastest lap, and the win! Welcome back, race fans, to the International Racing League and to the paddock of the Hungarian Grand Prix, the Hungaroring here, one of the mainstays of the F1 calendar. Looking forward to this, the penultimate race of the championship here for season 4 of the International Racing League. And we couldn't have a better championship situation lined up for you. What we've got after Japan, Bjorn de Boer leads the championship, but by only 3 points, with 2 wins now and 5 second places to his name. Pitch that against Unsku with 3 wins, 3 seconds and a first to his name on 155 points. Merckx, the Merciless, our reigning champion, has been a no-show for a few races and has now been dropped to 3rd position on 83 points, and Speedy Spud is on 75 in 4th. Milan is ahead of his Diecta teammate, but not constructors teammate here. Milan has 57 to Ole's 45, with our double world champion, the Maestro Moist, dropped down to 37 because of other commitments in this point in the season, sadly. Floyd Pink is 8th on 33. Sticky has 30 points in 9th. Then we have Ricky Maru, who hasn't raced since the start of December, has given me every racing driver's excuse in the book, but genuinely, it's great to have him back in 10th place on 29 points. 11th place is tied between Jeremy Clarkson and Ashtube, with AJ ARL on 21 points in 13th. TKM has 16 points, having only just started racing with us, and Loop Racer has 14 points, who's also gained positions. He's in 15th place. Jay, Ivan Tonsik and Chuck Norris all have 12 points. Anton has 4. And Nike, who made an appearance last week, isn't back with us, who was known as Uncle Lando last week, hasn't rejoined us for tonight, unfortunately, but he is in 20th and last position on 3 points. Thanks to Ricky as well for designing and producing our standings every race. Williams lead the Constructors' Championship. They are on 199 points to Haas's 155. McLaren have 132, and Mercedes are in 4th place with 83 points. Red Bull are 5th with 59. We have the V-Carb Racing Bulls team on 48 in 6th place. In 7th, Aston Martin on 40, and Ferrari have 12. Sauber and Alpine yet to score. Today is a sprint day. We have sprint qualifying followed. We have a one-shot sprint qualifying followed by the sprint, followed by one-shot regular qualifying. And, of course, we have then a customary short break for a snack and a bio break before heading off back to the main Grand Prix. Good to have AJ and Uncle Lando join us in the chat, and Bjorn de Boer as well. Hopefully 3 in a row, says Bjorn de Boer, so keeping the streak alive. Uncle Lando back next week. PC is downstairs from playing darts. Don't play darts with a PC, Uncle Lando. AJ says it hasn't been easy to race. He's got early mornings the next day, sadly, and he was already racing pretty late with us before he had an early morning start the next day. So sadly, that's why he hasn't been able to be with us. But hopefully, he can come back as soon as possible, or on high days and holidays, potentially he can rejoin us. It's obviously a one-shot quali still to go. Still got uni at 9 a.m. tomorrow, says AJ. And Uncle Lando cheering on Chuck Norris today as well. I heard this week that Chuck Norris was stopped by the police for speeding, and he let the police away with a warning this time. We are about to get underway then for this one-shot quali. It's a difficult watch, but we do our best to try and track the fastest driver between potentially Unsku, maybe Bjorn, maybe several other drivers might get in the mix as well. I was hoping to see Callum, who has joined the server recently, but unfortunately couldn't make tonight's race. Maybe he'll be here for next week's season finale, a double point scoring British Grand Prix to finish the season. And if you've been following International Racing League for as long as I have, you'll know that the British Grand Prix always, well, certainly so far, has always delivered to make absolutely barnstorming races with passing and repassing. Absolute highlight of the calendar. So to make it the finale, is something very, very special. Looks like we've got warm weather as ever in Hungary. Very rare to have anything other than crazy high temperatures and burning hot sun here in Hungary. And I'll do my best to try and get the screen organised while we try and track with everybody as well. So this is Unscoop. He's going to be probably the hot favourite through the first sector at very least to do this. Am I trying to curse him? No. but I'm trying to speak truth. Here we go into that difficult turn 5, and he's already purple through there. So no surprises really to see. He's a very, very quick driver, and generally, if he ever had a weakness, I think throughout the course of the season, it has been sprint qualifying. One-shot qualifying doesn't necessarily suit him, perhaps as much as beyond the board. The Nutter has, unfortunately, retired from qualifying. I think is serving a quali ban. No, I don't think so. Maybe just a straightforward retirement. I wasn't expecting to see Nutter today, unfortunately. Fortunately, he is with us, I should say. Racing into the penultimate corner now, turn at 13. It's a very short lap. Beyond the Board, though, is still ahead as we head into the final corner with the Williams. Very, very tentative through the corner, but delivering the speed when it matters. Beyond the Board gets that pole position by 0.3 of a second, near enough, from Unscoop, and Sticky in third position. Spud was not expecting a great race today because he doesn't like the track, but he qualified in 7th for McLaren, just ahead. I think that read just ahead of his teammate, which is great to see. So Beyond the Board, trying to keep the win streak alive and try and keep that championship lead that he's just taken from Unscoop, and does a great job in qualifying. There's a 1:14.498 under one-shot rules. That is very, very quick. So our Dutch driver beats the American and 2 Englishmen on the second row of the sprint. Sticky and TKM. We've got Loop Racer and ARL with Speedy Spud and Milan out on row 4. Row 5 is Chuck Norris and Ricky Maru, followed by Ivan Tonsik and Nutter at the back of the sprint start. So looking forward to this one. If you haven't already said hello to us, do so in the live chat and take part in the broadcast as much as you can. We really appreciate all the help with everybody here for keeping the channel supported, and also the league as well, of course. If I finish, it's a win, says AJ. I was genuinely going to bed like 5 minutes ago. Do you mean if you finish watching with us? Because you're not racing, unless you've changed your gamer tag. I don't think you're racing with us. So, yeah, if you finish, then great. But if you don't, make sure you watch it back next day. So we love to see everybody's highlights pasted in the comments on the video. Make sure you give us a timestamp and tell us why you like your favourite bit. Just trying to figure out what everybody's saying here in the driver chat. A little bit of off-topic stuff as ever. It is the most brutal banter place I have ever been part of, but it's also one of the cleanest racing leagues I've also been part of. It's a fantastic place to be. As Sticky says, let's go, gives the green light to our sprint start. So I can't remember exactly how many laps, but around 20% race distance usually is the deal. Usually the medium tyres will go through. No mandatory pit stop, of course, for the sprint, but the medium tyres will usually go easily to the end. Here we go then. 5 lights for our sprint race here in the penultimate round of the championship. And it's dropped the clutch and go. Looks like Unscoop away better slightly than Beyond the Board, but Beyond the Board on the cleaner side of the track sweeps across the nose of the Haas driver and comfortably into first position. Round the outside, tries Sticky, and there's contact. There's contact with the McLarens, and that looks to be, it is Milan who is spun round. McLaren doing well in the championship lately, but unfortunately squeezed in between 2 other cars as Ricky Maru in the Red Bull as promoted to 7th position and promotes himself against Chuck Norris, and the leaders come through that tricky turn 5. Big turn in there from Loop Racer, who hops over the curb but delivers a decent amount of speed through into the mini hairpin as we head into the Piff Paff chicane and out through turns 8 and 9. It is Bjorn de Boer leading by half a second from Unsku and Sticky. 12 laps we have ahead of us for the sprint race. And there'll be over double that for the main Grand Prix, of course. But the front two already getting very lively out there. Loop Racer having a mini look into turn 12. I think that was just a pressurising look happening. I don't think he was serious about an overtake on TKM, but Loop Racer up into 5th position from the start. Let's have a quick look at that position. And in fact, he is exactly where he started. Up 3 is Ricky Maru. Down 3 is ARL. Of course, ARL's here. How did I miss him in what was happening? But there he is into down to 9th position at the moment, and Milan down 4 positions into the back of the grid. But Bjorn de Boer leading Unsku at this time and trying to run through just lap 2 of 12. Medium tyres are the way to go for everybody, and we'll get that graphic off the lead because it does kind of take up the screen somewhat. It is Bjorn de Boer, Unsku, Sticky, and this on screen is the bright green and black Kick Sauber. It looks like they'll be racing the same colours for 2025 as well. I thought it might just be a flash in the pan, but no, we are living with the neon green for another season at least. Chuck Norris in 8th in the Ferrari. Goes over the white line there on the exit of turn 9 through to 10. And down towards turn 12 we go. The V-carb of ARL getting wide down into the corner. Nutter is in 11th place, but Bjorn de Boer leads Unsku. He'll get the DRS now, Unsku, if he can stay with Bjorn de Boer. And Bjorn is going to have to do this, I think, while defending from Unsku. I don't see Unsku allowing a second to separate the two of them down into turn 1. No look into that for those drivers as we have a look then into turn 1 with the rear of the field, and again nothing doing. It's a slightly processional start, but DRS will now be enabled for the following portions of the track and through turn 3, and then we go through the blind crest of turn 4. Really tricky, that turn 4, and through into then the slow, patience rewarding turn 5. And at the moment it is as it was before from qualifying. Bjorn ahead of former championship leader Unsku, who was hoping to seal the title, I think, pretty soon. It looks like, come what may, with the double point finale, we are going to end up with an absolute belter of a final round here for round 10 of the championship. It can only be decided there. So that's the double point finale securing that for us. Normally, Bjorn would only have to beat Unsku here to secure the win. But unless Unsku retires, then I think Bjorn will obviously have to do the job in Silverstone as well. Side by side go the two rivals at the front of the championship and the front of our race. Bjorn de Boer on the cutback. Unfortunately, given the track design and DRS design, Unsku getting a second bout of DRS and Bjorn hanging it around the outside of the circuit. He trying to keep his nose in there for turn 4, does so. Unsku does exactly the same to him and tries to keep the line going into turn 5. It's through turn 4 into turn 5, and Bjorn de Boer rescues that one. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of delay lag going on with Unsku's car. The two drivers entirely as one through the Piff Paff chicane, and thankfully that didn't turn into trouble for the two of them. I think the game is coded such that if they do make contact while ghosted, or they won't get unghosted without that situation resolving itself in a friendly manner rather than disaster. But it's something that Bjorn is going to have to be really careful of and really quite nervous about, I imagine. Through we go then. The penultimate corner, that's your pit lane entry, which is the Verstappen pit lane entry, of course, home of his spin to win tactic. Here is the DRS then, not working on the Haas, very much working on the Williams. You even saw another car in between the two of them there, and down into turn 1 we go. Unsku won't have the DRS this time, and you can see how close they get as they go side by side on the way into turn 2. And again, a mirror image of last tour round here. They could go side by side the entire lap, these two, as Bjorn might end up yielding going through turn 4. And Unsku hangs the tail out going through there. And these two great rivals just separated by a quarter of a second, not slowing each other into the path of the drivers behind either. 1.9 seconds is Sticky behind these drivers. And Unsku leads Bjorn through into a second consecutive lap. We are nearly halfway done with this with this sprint race. It is very, very fast and furious as TKM is holding firm in that 4th place. He has a penalty on the car though, and we've got a yellow flag in sector 2. That is the tail running kick Sauber of Ivan Tonsik, unfortunately. He's getting back into his league racing and trying not to cause any problems for anybody. So doing his best here as peeling to the inside goes Bjorn de Boer. Back down the inside once again. A touch of wheels that time. A little friendly tap there as he gets a second load of DRS. And he should be able to break into turn 2 comfortably. But he doesn't manage to, as Atsu is cheering on Ricky. Atsu giving up his seat, literally, for Ricky tonight. I'm not quite sure why Atsu isn't able to race with us, but Bjorn de Boer tucking in and having to follow Unsku once again through the corner. Let's check out those penalties while the drivers are in their period here, where well, I don't think I've ever seen anybody try and overtake into the piff path, but it does it and completes the move going through into turn 8. That was an incredible maneuver from Bjorn de Boer. Brilliant overtake there. Must have had a little bit of energy deployment assistance going into that corner, but absolutely crazy position to make the move and making it stick as well. 3 seconds penalties on the cars tagged on the screen. So that's TKM, Chuck Norris and Ivan Tonsik. As we go into turn 1, and Bjorn de Boer is going to give up that DRS detection point once again. Now they absolutely have allowed Sticky to close in this time, and Sticky has the DRS. But behind them, we've also got a manoeuvre coming, and that's Loop Racer down the inside into turn 1, ahead of TKM, and spinning is Speedy Spud. Spinning Spud we have going through out of turn 1. Unfortunately, he was preparing himself for the worst with this race, and unfortunately some of that has come to pass already. Loop Racer holding on though, ahead of TKM and making the pass, and then he showed some great speed in Suzuka, did Loop Racer, and he's going to be trying to get on board with Sticky ahead. He's actually within the DRS range of 3rd place, Sticky, and I know Loop Racer really wants a podium, so I'm sure he'll do his level best to stick with those guys. At the moment though, Unsku not letting Bjorn de Boer away. We've passed the halfway point on the race. There are just 5 laps to go plus the one that they're on at the moment. And the Haas is in 2nd place. A hint of a little slide there from Bjorn de Boer. Maybe the mediums are starting to feel it, but he's doing a great job so far anyway, hanging on to this the pace and the lead. Looks like Sticky couldn't live with Unsku's speed once they stopped fighting between themselves. Doesn't have the DRS this time. Unsku does. Surely is he going to wait for the second corner then, the second load of DRS, before making the pass, or is he quite happy to run behind Bjorn de Boer at this stage of the race? Keep him guessing. Loop Racer's retired from the session. That is heartbreaking. Hero to 0, unfortunately, and it looks like a Spinala potentially coming through the corner. I'm not going to be able to follow Ivan the entire way round until we find Loop Racer, but sadly he has retired after making that great move into 4th position, and we'll have to wait for the feature race to see if we can get a similar position in qualifying and then produce some magic in the race. Lap 8 of 12, and Bjorn de Boer leads Unsku, as he has done for the majority of the race so far, but not the whole race. And Unsku now being quite patient about getting past. I think just feeling like he's got the measure, but it would have to be on lap 12. He can't really come out of the final corner and try and make the pass. The DRS zone isn't available until after the start-finish line. So I'm going to have a quick cheeky look at the telemetry difference between the two drivers. I'm not going to read it out because some of our drivers listen in. Here comes Unsku moving on by and overtaking Bjorn de Boer back for the lead at the start of lap 9 and using the DRS for the second time on the lap down into turn 2. They have dropped Sticky now. Sticky not on terms with the drivers behind. Luke Racer says pace was strong, and Speedy Spud is trying to fight back on Ricky after that spin from Spud. Running around the outside of the corner. They'll go side by side. Ricky in an unfamiliar rig, just not wanting to battle too hard and hold on to something that could result in an accident for both of them. Well, okay. I did not intend to curse you, Ricky. Unfortunately, the tail got out from underneath him and lost control going on through the corner. Allowed the second McLaren, who was at the back of the grid earlier on, Milan, up into 6th place. Bjorn de Boer in second. No attempt into the piff path this time from him into the penultimate corner of the 9th lap they go. And Bjorn, just a hint that he can't quite live with Unsku's pace. Maybe Unsku is using everything in the tank now to get away from Bjorn. It's 0.8 of a second. This is on board with Bjorn de Boer. And it looks like it's going to be too far away to go for a move into the corner. From behind him, we've got Sticky. And then the rear tyres letting go once again. And not for the first time or for the first driver we've seen with the rear tyres slip sliding around and trying to hang on here. It looks like out of that turn 1 is a difficult place to be. And he's just got to hope he's got enough electrical deployment available to him to fight with Unsku into the 12th and final lap of the race. Behind these guys, we've got the McLarens that have not played exactly nicely together throughout the course of our season. Speedy Spud being a bit distracted there with Milan behind him and getting close to contact is this battle here for 5th place, led by Spud. He's got Milan behind him. He's got Ricky Maru behind him, who's just passed by ARL. And again, an unfamiliar position. And then on the tail of that group is Chuck Norris in the Ferrari as well. It is absolutely nail-biting in the midfield. I'll keep my eye on the gap at the head of the field as the drivers start their going to start their penultimate lap any second. But the gap is 0.8 of a second between first and second. This isn't for a Grand Prix win. This doesn't count in Grand Prix streaks. But Bjorn needs to continue extending his lead because you can never guarantee finishing ahead of Unsku. Here comes Milan then on his teammate as they go through, and that is a slow coming out of the pits. Ivan Tonsik just staying out of everybody's way and getting loose at the rear again is Speedy Spud. He's got Milan on the outside of him. Shades of Piastri and Norris. Not really receiving clear instructions from the team at this stage of the proceedings. It looks like Speedy Spud hanging on by his fingernails to this 5th position, and he picks up a... I'm not doing well tonight, am I? Then he picks up a 3-second penalty. For the good of the team, he needs to let Milan by now, because Milan can start to close on Sticky. Sticky is looking good for the podium behind TKM, but TKM with a 3-second penalty. Now the two leaders come through the penultimate corner on the track, on the penultimate lap, and into the final corner they go. And Bjorn de Boer has closed in this portion of the lap. Here we go then. This is the last major overtaking opportunity for Bjorn de Boer. It's 0.4 of a second. It's going to have to happen from a long way back. He doesn't quite have the car underneath him, but Unsku has a slight skid on the tyres, manages somehow to get the exit out of the corner. I don't quite know how he did it, but into turn 2, and he holds the line. He holds holds the racing line, holds the lead at this stage, and you can see on screen 50% on the electrical deployment here on the final lap with Bjorn de Boer, and it's even less for Unsku. So Bjorn needs to spend this as soon as he can to get past, but it is single file through here. There is a tiny chance he can do it into turn 12. And then a drag race to the line. I can't imagine a drag race to the line is going to be on unless you're fully alongside into the final corner. And who knows, he might go for it. Through into turn 11 we go. Now we get a little bit of DRS. Can we have a look into 12? It's not on. Unsku's going to have to make a mistake for this to be open and possible for Bjorn de Boer to continue to hold on to this winning streak he's had so far. This is just a sprint race, but it looks like Unsku is going to make the win count. He goes across the line, and it will be a sprint win for Unsku ahead of Bjorn de Boer by a quarter of a second only. TKM is going to cross the line in third, but that is going to be handed to Sticky thanks to the penalties on the car. It looks like Milan got past Speedy Spud on the final lap, and Spud finishes down in sixth. Then ARL and Ricky Maria promoted ahead of Spud as well, and that is insult to injury. But Ivan Tonzik crossing the line, down in 10th, but picking up a point for the Kick Sauber team, and the team will be happy that he continued in that regard. Milan, driver of the day, he was at the back, lap 1, made his way up. I think that was 5th in the end, so great performance from him. Unsku wins, though, takes the 8 points, closes by 1 point to 2 point difference, I think, in our championship between Unsku and Bjorn de Boer. If it finishes like that, and he wins the final round of the championship, it is obviously over. But a great run from Unsku, just striking back against Bjorn de Boer's recent run of form. Bjorn de Boer has 7 points in second, Sticky in third, TKM in fourth. 5th is Milan, 6th is ARL, then Ricky Maru and Speedy Spud. And I called that Ivan Tonzik picked up points. Of course he didn't, because this is the sprint, not the Grand Prix. Chuck Norris and Ivan Tonzik finished. Luke Racer and Nutter, unfortunately, did not. And we're going to go straight into one-shot qualifying for the Grand Prix before our customary break. So if you are in need of a break, you've just got a lap to wait patiently for. Yeah, looking good from the guys here. Really good performance overall. Yes. Hopefully, we will go straight into that Grand Prix qualifying, one-shot qualifying here, just to keep our race time down to an acceptable level. Overall broadcast time, I should say. Luke Racer said, damn, in the chat. Just Spud reminding everybody to not forget setups, especially Ricky, and not to ready up in the break as well. And the drivers need their breaks when they're fighting furiously and qualifying hard. They have to obviously take a break as much as possible throughout the course of our season. It's very normal for them, and hopefully we'll be underway for you very, very shortly. I hope you've been enjoying the International Racing League Season 4. You will find all the races on a playlist, and I've been told that people sleep brilliantly if they leave the playlists on overnight. Just very low or on silent, but it really helps with good night's sleep. If you can, find any way to support the channel, and that includes the guys who subscribe to the channel, who like the videos and comment afterwards. If you feel like sharing it, then great. Really, really appreciate everybody for their support. It is 1 second to go before we hit qualifying again. Remember, it was Bjorn de Boer who got that pole position. Let's see if Unsku can hit back and claim the pole position for this Grand Prix of Hungary. Around turn 1, looked like the car was very well hooked up. Of course, they've just come out of racing on worn mediums, so the car should feel really good for them, and they'll be doing great. They'll be really enjoying hitting the accelerator going through the corners. Milan, though, looking quick on this run at the moment. Unsku just gets him going through turn 4 into turn 5. Has he held on to that lead? He has so far, as Spud unfortunately is retired from qualifying. That is really unfortunate for him. Sticky was hovering in third, but Bjorn de Boer has overcome Sticky. We've got Bjorn de Boer now into second position. Is he going to take Unsku here in this middle sector? Unsku going through the motions in P11. Sticky retakes Bjorn de Boer for that second position as they're swapping round. They are absolutely together in pace, but it's Unsku who's on top at the moment. Maybe he was slightly slow through turn 13 and the penultimate corner. Through the final corner we go, and Unsku, it looks like he's going to hold on to the lead, and he does so by 0.3 of a second from his championship rival Bjorn in second position. Ivan was disqualified right at the end of qualifying, unfortunately. But yeah, we look forward to this and the Grand Prix. If our sprint was anything to go by, we should be on for a really competitive finish. Dicky there, within 4.5 tenths of a second of pole as well. So Unsku on the front row with Bjorn de Boer, which is a couple of meters behind him. Then Sticky in third, Milan in fourth, TKM and Ricky Maru in sixth place, returning to us, getting comfortable in Atsu's rig. Then we've got Loop Racer in seventh, and Chuck Norris and Nutter. ARL, Speedy Spud and Ivan Tonsik didn't set a time. I wonder if ARL has had to retire on us and leave the grid, because he has an early start tomorrow, as he has told us. So hopefully we will see him again soon, if not during the next race. Well, thanks everybody. We will be back after the break. I'll let you know it's 5 minutes from now if you're watching live. If not, I'll try and edit this bit out. See you on the other side. We've got a green light, folks. The drivers have been instructed to get ready. The cars are on the grid and we're underway then for our penultimate race of the championship. This is round 9 of the International Racing League's 4th season. And we are on the road to crowning a new champion. Will it be Bjorn de Boer? Will it be Unscoot? This race will tell part of the final story of this great chapter of International Racing League's history. We look forward then to having a third champion from the 4 seasons, with Moist, of course, taking the first 2 and Merckx the Merciless taking the third one. We have got the lights on. We have got revs building. And it's dropped the clutch and go, go, go. This time it's Bjorn de Boer away slightly better, but tucking in right behind Unscoot immediately, and side by side down into the first corner will go the McLaren of Milan, as another McLaren runs around the outside. Speedy Spud getting up to 9th position from the start. That was a beautiful start from him, posting himself in the danger zone on the outside of the corner. Now he's using the curb on the inside of the next one into turn 3. They go side by side together with the Ferrari. McLaren versus Ferrari up the hill, but it looks like Spud is up into that 8th position straight away. Loop Racer rejoining us after his retirement in the previous race is up to 6th place. Great start from him. The Red Bulls are occupying 4th and 5th positions, and that was TKM knocking out one of the braking marker boards, going off track voluntarily, it seems. And certainly going very, very slowly indeed, releasing lots of drivers in front of him. He seemed to wipe out a marker board there for a moment, and has certainly been suffering a great deal. Up 4 positions went Speedy Spud. Then it was very similar changes throughout the rest of the grid until you get to TKM's -7 positions. Tyre selection so far. Before we get the DRS, you've got the majority of the grid on the medium tyres, having plenty of experience through the sprint race. Looks like we've got Loop Racer getting lively there on the way into the corner as well. He is on the mediums, but Speedy Spud, with that lightning start, helped by the soft tyres, he'll be trying to run soft to medium strategy here. Might be relying on a safety car, and ARL is playing it very, very cagey and carefully on a hard tyre strategy start. That's a big bold move from ARL. He's going to struggle in these early goings. Ricky has the correct setup now, says Atsu. Is that because he's borrowed yours by any chance? But Unscoot, and he hadn't got his right setup on before, potentially. But Bjorn de Boer in 2nd place by just 1/3 of a second, and getting a little bit slidey, coming on out of the fast sweepers here in the middle sector of this Hungarian lap as we head down into turn 12. No looks from anybody for manoeuvres. DRS is enabled, and again we get a lock-up on the front left. No Merckx tonight, asked Respond. Yeah, unfortunately not. I haven't heard anything from Merckx, but clearly Sunday nights is bad for our reigning and former champions at this current time. But Unscoot claims the fastest lap on the early goings here in lap 2. And Bjorn de Boer has a look down into the corner. We've got Sticky, the lead Red Bull of the 2, with his teammate Ricky Maru just behind him. Sticky challenging Milan now, but it's Speedy Spud who is on the soft tyres, who should still be the man to watch on the soft, grippier rubber at this early point in the race. But of course he will take the pain and the first of our scheduled pit stops, unless of course ARL can't drive on the hard tyres and wants to get rid of them too. But as soon as that medium window is open, I'm sure that Speedy Spud and ARL will be trading onto the most favoured tyre, as Loop Racer is closing in as well on the back of Ricky, and he'll be hoping to just keep the wheels on the track this time, as well as having the great pace he had in the first sprint race of the night. Running around the outside and shaving the wall was Loop Racer, but he held on. He might pick up a warning for that off-track excursion. I don't think he gained any time, but he certainly didn't lose any time being off-track either, unless you count any tyre weight he might have shredded going past the Armco on the wall. on the exit of turn 11. Here is Bjorn looking for an opportunity down into turn 1. It looks like it's not going to happen, but it is going to happen here between Sticky and Milan. Side by side they go. The drivers behind them trying to pick up any crumbs that are left from this particular battle, and it's Milan holding on round the outside. Looks like Sticky not super brave, but he's keeping the nose in, and they almost came together running through turn 3 over the hill of turn 4, and they do come together, they do touch, but frankly it looked like Sticky had at least a right to some space at the corner, but that corner is so short, so fast, that it's very difficult to adjust your lines going through there, very much one by one through that corner. So unless you can get yourself visibly ahead of the driver that you're attacking, they really are not going to expect a manoeuvre around the outside going through there. But there is a question as to whether Milan left enough space for Sticky on the outside of that turn 4. The stewards, of course, will look into that if it becomes important later on. But here is the battle for the lead of the race once again, and it's Bjorn now tucked right up behind Unsku. Looks like this one is going to be quite an easy pass here. No, Unsku isn't happy to just give it up, as he's going to make Bjorn work for it, and this time Unsku loses the car on the outside, slightly offline from his usual position, and almost slips out of DRS range in just that short sector. Milan still holding on against Sticky, not quite sure how Milan is doing this at this stage, and Spud's ascendancy has halted. He's stuck in that 7th position in a DRS train and just trying to make more manoeuvres around here. This time, Sticky did not go side by side with Milan. Once bitten, twice shy for him, as Ivan Tonsic picks up our first track limit penalty of 3 seconds. We are lap 5 of 35 in this race. That has zoomed by on us fantastically. So hopping over the curbs they go, just trying to stretch the track as much as possible, try and get whatever advantage the game will allow them to generate. Bjorn leads by 0.8 of a second. That has only extended slightly since Unsku's problem going through turn 1. But this is collectively a very, very tight battle here over 3rd position. I imagine some of these drivers will pick up penalties further into the race, but it also looks like the V-carb here of ARL is closing in on Speedy Spud, going around the outside on the hard tyres versus the soft. Big difference in performance between the two, and it looks like Spud able to repel any manoeuvre coming. Or Spud actually getting by past ARL, so now up into 6th position. Or was that Sticky moving down? That was Sticky having a problem. Sticky losing several places there. I did see something out of the corner of my eye. I may be slightly too close to my screen. But Sticky, dropping back down from 4th place, handing over the battle against the McLaren team to his teammate Ricky, who has dropped out of that DRS range once again. Then we go into turn 11 with the leaders on this lap 6. As that marshal that gets absolutely everywhere around the world continues to watch on. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. That is a Ferrari. That is Chuck Norris, unfortunately, off track, slowing. I don't see any visible damage on the front wing. That's pretty much all we can see that the game allows us to see. We don't see floor damage for obvious reasons, but we also don't see side pod or rear wing damage. The damage model has never quite lived up to the trailer that we all saw when they brought it in. Side by side, through turn 1 they go, and Unsku with that second helping of DRS streaks into the lead into turn 2, and that looked relatively straightforward for him. Pit stop from Speedy Spud off these soft tyres, so going for the undercut now, and that promotes Ivan Tonsic. Obviously Chuck Norris in the pits as well, so maybe he did suffer a bit of damage, but he now has to switch over to the hard tyres. No, Chuck Norris retires in the pits, unfortunately, so we're down to 11. We started with 12, and that yellow flag will wave on the start-finish straight just for a short spell, as unfortunately Chuck did not manage to continue the race. Damage was too severe to something, either the car or the driver's ego, maybe, but 1.5 tenths of a second separate our leaders, and they have opened up a gap of nearly 5 seconds in 7 racing laps. So we have avoided a safety car so far. That it does look to be Ivan Toncic off track, running through turn 5, but thankfully able to get running again. And here they come then, our lead 2 in the race, our lead 2 in the championship, in reverse order at the moment, for now anyway. But it will reverse if the positions finish like this in our championship. That is Milan, opening the gap to Ricky, ahead of Loop Racer, and then ARL in 6th and Sticky in 7th position. TKM in 8th place. We've got Nutter, who we've not really spent a lot of time looking at, but he's in no man's land. He's 9 seconds away from PRS, plus at least 3. And then Speedy Spud is 4 seconds further back on the new medium tyres and able to start putting in some laps, I think, at this stage. Ivan Toncic pits after an off-track excursion. It could be that the hard tyre window is very much open. Certainly, it looked like Spud thinks that the medium tyre window is open, unless he's going to two-stop this. And he could go soft, medium, soft if that's his desired strategy. But, of course, it's the majority of the field will be on one-stop scheduled strategies. So I imagine to be competitive, he's going to try run those medium tyres for an enormous amount of time. It's lap 8 of 35, and Unsku leads Bjorn by less than half a second. As here we go, on board with him. That might be too far away. I think you want to be within 3/10 to have a go into turn 1. Again, it looked like just a hint that Unsku was teleporting on us, and he opens the door for a moment, and then he teleports forward. I thought we were going to see him to the left of us, and we didn't. So... yeah, that was not quite what I was expecting, not quite what Bjorn was expecting. I imagine everything looks very straightforward to Unsku, connecting to us transatlantically here on the E8 service. And maybe there is a slight bit of lag happening. But the game generally sorts the drivers out over the course of a race. There's temporary ghosting there from Unsku. In fact, I think he's fully ghosted and gone down to AI speed, and he's left the session. He's left the session, Unsku, and this is massive for the championship. This could hand, or at least allow Bjorn de Boer to have one hand on the trophy. Unsku will be fighting to get back into the session as quickly as possible, but there was a hint of a teleportation going on from Unsku, and now he's had a problem with his connection. His car will continue to run. Ivan Toncic retires in the pit lane, so we continue at green flag racing, but this is massive for the championship as Unsku slips out and goes into AI zone. There are yellow flags on the main straight. Unsku has rejoined and has lost a second here to Ricky. It looks like Unsku is coming back into his car, but how much will the damage be? Thankfully, it is not full retirement. He's nearly 2 seconds to the negative to Bjorn de Boer. Let's see. As soon as his car goes solid, we will know that Unsku is back in control of this car. Ivan Toncic leaves the session, sadly. And I think now that is Unsku back with 2.5 seconds deficit. That is not insurmountable. The guy has huge speed. And really, Bjorn de Boer's handed a real advantage here by the racing gods. And he'll try and carry on and double down on this advantage. You may think it would be more sporting, maybe, to hold and wait for Unsku to catch him, but he never knows. He has no idea when the next mechanical failure might become him. So he will then obviously not be able to rely on that being given back. So mechanical failure is part of motorsport, even sim racing. And again, I'm seeing a little hint of that video effect, that VCR effect, just on the F124 advertising hoardings, especially on the bridge sections there, just off track. I don't know if you can see that, or whether, like I said before, I'm too close to the screen. But sometimes I am seeing some very odd texture patterns happening on the game. This is ARL. He's just passed Ricky Marou, and ARL finding his rhythm. Ricky Marou showing very well for a driver who's been out of sim racing since early December. That is like something like 9 weeks with no hand on a steering wheel in anger. So he has obviously resettled nicely. Usually one of the contenders for the win is Ricky. But Bjorn is now 2.2 seconds in the lead, waiting to have to use the hard tyres. They'd rather not, but they have to, of course. And we'll try and get through to lap 18 plus, I imagine, before committing to the hard tyre as late as possible. Looks like, though, ARL's hard tyres are coming to the good now and starting to be the better tyre to be on relative to the mediums that have started the race and done 12 whole laps. Of course, this was the length of the sprint race. We did see some drivers in the sprint tyres starting to let go. Maybe they were getting greedy with their low fuel loads at the time. They're on heavy fuel loads right now. But Ricky ahead of Sticky, and Sticky doing a good job to recatch his teammate here. Loop Racer is in 7th and pitting onto the hard tyres. As soon as he felt uncomfortable on those mediums, Loop Racer has headed to the pit lane and made sure that he is not going to spin, playing this one as safe as possible. It might mean giving up a few tenths per lap. He did cross the white line with 2 wheels, but I think it's all 4 wheels that the game dislikes coming out of the pit lane, and didn't pick up a penalty anyway, so he's got away with it. Now he has to catch Loop Racer. Remember, Sticky, it was Speedy Spud in the McLaren who stopped first of all off the soft tyres, who's going to have to run a huge race, and that is just Loop Racer on cold hard tyres, holding the slide beautifully. Very, very nicely done from him. And he stays in 9th position, doesn't lose any positions, loses a little bit of time, but picks up some style points along the way. Nutter in 8th. We've got Speedy Spud there in 7th place, heading into turn 12 in a cloud of someone else's brake smoke. And Speedy Spud then 7th place, 5 laps deep into his medium tyre stint that is going to be very, very long indeed. And Sticky now pits to go on to the hard tyres. Remember, Speedy Spud starting on the softs, so having to run a longer second stint than most. Into the pits come several other drivers, do they? But it looks like TKM and, well, Nutter has had a problem coming out of the final corner. Wiped out his front wing end plates at least. And that is the worst possible place to pick up that damage, because you've got to run an entire lap at the back of the grid. Here comes Sticky then, having pitted, having put on the hard tyres to the end of the race. It's lap 13 of 35. And he will be trying then to perform a good undercut here on the drivers who have yet to pit. TKM is right with and pressuring Loop Racer in front of him. I love these helicopter cam shots. I wish we had more of them, or that we could select them ourselves. Wouldn't that be quite something? And hopping over the piff path goes TKM, looking like he's got great grip at this stage. Loop Racer's tyres still coming in as Bjorn de Boer pits just in front of Unsku, allows Unsku through. Looks like Milan and Ricky Maru all pitting too. ARL, of course, doesn't have to pit for some time if he wants to stay on those hard tyres through to lap 20 or even more. Then he can do that. He can do that up into lap 25, but he probably won't have the speed that he requires. This is then on board with TKM, who's got the DRS. He's got Loop Racer just half a second in front of him. Loop Racer, his rain light, his ERS light is flashing. Coming out of the pits behind him is Ricky Maru. And TKM has already pitted. His tyres are up to temperature. Loop Racers are getting there, not quite there yet. And Ricky Maru is got a job on his hands here to try and keep hold of that Red Bull that just wants to spit him out into the scenery as soon as possible. And a little lift going in through turn 4. TKM just not sure what Lenny can do, what Loop Racer can do. Another driver giving up some tyre smoke there on the way into the corner. That is a penalty for Ricky Maru. That is Loop Racer picking up too much curb, doing the same thing the following corner, but I think more by default than by intention. And running then through turn 11. TKM getting a lot of dirty air through the fast turns here and suffering some understeer as a result. Unsku still leads us because he's yet to pit ahead of ARL. Likewise, Bjorn de Boer has pitted, is on new hard tyres, is in a nice position on the track as well. He's got bags of clean air to play with. If you can have a bag of air, I think you can. Then here comes TKM with that DRS shaping to the inside, doesn't want to fully commit to that inside line, and Loop Racer trying to use the traction on the outside lane on the exit of turn 1 and doing so nicely, even though the DRS is on with the kick salver. Then we wash out going into the next turn, and he's got so much more speed at this stage. I think he's got more electrical deployment as well to hand, if I can read his steering wheel correctly. But he does struggle through that next corner. I think he's got less wing on the car potentially than Loop Racer, but he's making himself a little bit of a nuisance in the mirrors, as he has every right to do. And Ricky Marou closes in on the pair of them and wants to get ahead. Now the leader, Unsku, is pitting. He's fighting for the lead of the championship. You really want the lead of the championship going into the final race. Of course, it's never more critical, because then you don't necessarily have to finish on the top step. It doesn't all have to go your way perfectly on the day of the finale. Here comes Bjorn de Boer. He has passed Unsku by quite some margin. Remember, it was 2.5 seconds after Unsku resumed his position in his car following the disconnection. It is now 5.8 seconds, thanks to Bjorn de Boer getting on those hard tyres, warming them up, as is, I think, one of his key strengths is tyre warming and restarts. We've got a car off the circuit that looks like it might be a Red Bull or a Williams. It can't be a Williams. It could be a Williams. Was it Bjorn de Boer? No, it was definitely ARL who was off track for a moment there. The colours on the track map are somewhat deceptive, but Bjorn de Boer managed to get past ARL, who was off track, maybe deliberately to get out of Bjorn de Boer's way. But the gap now pretty significant between Bjorn and Unsku, and we will see if they can get back together again before the end of the race. It is Bjorn de Boer leading on lap 16 of 35. He has got his pit stop out of the way. Of course, if we do get a safety car through the course of the rest of the race, the drivers will go back onto the mediums if they can, or onto softs if there's time. And Bjorn de Boer sets a new fastest lap, a 1:17.0. Bear in mind that certainly Spud had been on the soft tyres earlier on. McLaren claps back with Bjorn de Boer, and Milan gets the new fastest lap of the race ahead of his teammate Speedy Spud, who is running in this position at the moment. That is Ricky Marou passing TKM, and he really could do with passing Loop Racer on the sooner side as well if he wants to feature in the highest paying points positions of this Grand Prix on his return. Maybe temporary return, maybe we can encourage him to continue racing with us with Atsu as well. I know that they can't both race anymore, but running wide goes Ricky. I know Ricky was watching my GT7 broadcast earlier, so hopefully we can get Ricky into GT7. I'm telling you now that GT7 in VR with just a controller is a more immersive experience than being in an expensive racing rig, racing flat screen in F124. That's just my take on it anyway, but guarantee for me, it is so much better. If you did want to freshen up your sim racing, there's using the VR system. I know Le Mans Ultimate has just allowed VR racing as well as iRacing, and you can use your PSVR on those systems too if you are a PS driver. Here comes Ricky Marou using the DRS, but Loop Racer's got the DRS on Speedy Spud ahead, and Loop Racer goes right round the outside of Speedy Spud. Now that becomes the inside line for the next one. With the benefit of DRS, Loop Racer completes a move on Spud, who's on the older but probably still grippier medium tyres, but it does look like Ricky is also queuing up to pass. Ricky has already got a 3-second penalty. He can't afford to go off track like that in the pursuit of another position, and Loop Racer is in P5 now with a 5.9 second deficit to Milan's 4th position, who is closing on ARL as well. Up at the front, Bjorn de Boer leads Unsku by 8 clear seconds, and that is looking almost insurmountable given the pace of Bjorn de Boer. The worst thing that could affect him now is losing focus, is a little bit of boredom. not being kept on his toes. Ricky Marou passes Speedy Spud, at least for a moment, and then round the outside tries TKM round turn 13 in towards the final turn, turn 14. Unsku sets a new fastest lap on hard tyres. And now the fuel is burning off. It is becoming easier and easier for the drivers to do that. But TKM, remember, we were in Suzuka. We have 3 safety cars. So far, so good. And hopefully, Bernd Meilander's not going to feature in our race today. Heading into turn 2, go the McLaren and the Kick Sauber. There's some pretty extreme camber on the McLaren's rear wheels. I'm sure it's similar on all the cars, but just caught my eye there for a moment. Heading into turn 5, and Speedy Spud trying to hold on here, but he just doesn't have the pace on these medium tyres. And I think if he loses this position, I think he might take a pit stop and try and get back on the medium, a new set of mediums, if he's got any remaining, or he might have to wait until later in the race to go on to the soft tyres for the finish. That will be around lap 25, 26. Sorry, no, that was silly. I would say maybe lap 23, 24 with light fuel loads. Maybe he could think about running that to a finish then. Here comes, this is Ricky Marou chasing down Loop Racer. Ricky with the DRS open. Loop Racer's rear light flashing. He's either in harvest mode or he's lost a bit of ERS, spent a bit of ERS deployment energy, and Ricky just can't quite get past here. He's got his new setup on, his proper setup on, says Atsu, and into the pits comes Speedy Spud, deciding that Red Bull, that McLaren just isn't working on his second set of tyres. He's had to run a 2-stopper here, soft to medium, and back onto mediums again. And this is Ricky with no trouble from behind. They've dropped TKM now, these two, and fighting over 5th place. He's going to make Loop Racer earn it if Loop Racer finishes ahead. Ricky's very good at pressurizing drivers in front of him, and we'll see if that transpires into a good result for our Norwegian racer. Bjornborg leads by 8.1 seconds. That gap hasn't changed at this stage. Unsku in 2nd place with Milan in 3rd. ARL is in 4th, but in the pits again, having run a 19-lap... No, in the pits for the first time, I should say, having run that 19-lap stint. And then, finally, Ricky Marou uses the DRS, uses a bit of ERS, I suspect, and gets by Loop Racer, who stays 5th, thanks to the pit stop of ARL, who's out on new medium tyres and should run comfortably to a finish. Looks like Sticky has just overtaken him while he's pitting, and ARL then rejoins the race in 8th place. How far away is he? Well, he's got a 2-second gap to catch Sticky, and then a big gap in front of them. Loop Racer staying with Ricky, but he needs to be super, super careful of the dirty air effect now. He's been running in front of Ricky, and now he has to follow a driver. And I think following or being pressured earlier in the sprint was perhaps one of the contributory factors to losing the car coming out of turn 1. And towards the end of the medium tyre life as well. Hopefully these hard tyres will be far more predictable. But it looks like Ricky just stretching his legs now, getting away from Loop Racer. But there is the penalty on Ricky's car. That is a 3-second penalty for him, a 6-second penalty for our last place driver, who should still pick up points today, Nutter, down in that 10th place. But he's now turned that into a 9-second penalty, just as I say it. Again, so fastest lap at the moment is held by Unsku, a 16.8. Bjornborg is very close to that pace. But you've got to fancy that ARL or Speedy Spud should be able to get on terms with that pace throughout the course of this stint on the new medium tyres. Gap to leader for these drivers displayed on screen at the moment as Loop Racer, he picks up a penalty. So he had the chance to overcome Ricky if he just stayed with him, but unfortunately he's picked up a penalty that it mirrors Ricky's penalty. So unfortunately that is no longer going to be a working option for him. Lap 22 of 35, 13 plus the end of the one they're on remaining. As Bjorn crosses the line to start lap 23, he is 7.6 seconds ahead of Unscoot and able to monitor that gap now. So 13 laps remain, just under, for the leaders. As Milan, his pace was strong in qualifying, strong at the start of the race, but somehow he has lost 15 seconds to our race leader. Nutter has now retired from 10th place. I thought he was going to stay with us, but sadly, Nutter has retired. His car has come back out of the pits. No, he's retired on track, I believe, unfortunately. So that has triggered a safety car. There is perhaps a small sense of justice then for Bjorn de Boer, for Unscoot, excuse me, with his battle against Bjorn. Bjorn will not really be able to believe his luck now. He thought he had a chance here at an easy victory, but maybe, being the racer he is, he didn't really want to win that way. AJ says some sort of expletive, and he's been good enough to edit it out for us. But Nutter leaving the session, disappearing on us. Safety car has been deployed for the first time tonight on lap 23. We'll see if Bjorn decides to pit. He does. He had that cushion to make a decision. Now, what does Unscoot do? Is it going to be the same thing? It is. They want to get off these hard tyres. 12 laps remain. That is the length of the sprint. So I imagine the drivers will all, as one, fit fresh tyres. Maybe ARL will be able to take some benefit of track position. It doesn't really need to change tyres here. And in the pit lane now, Milan in third place. Ricky pits, Loop Racer pits, and actually gains a little bit on Ricky, potentially in the pit lane entry process. TKM taking no chances with that speed limit as he goes through. And TKM sees the Mercedes of Loop Racer come in ahead of him. Sticky's in. ARL also going to be in, not going to gain any positions, not going to lose any positions. And Speedy Spud, who's just put a new set of hards on, might come back in and go for the mediums here. But no, he's going to go round, try and catch the train. But at the back of the grid, on the worst tyres, it does not look like it's going to be fun for Spud on the restart. Here is Bjorn de Boer, Unscoot just behind, safety car driver in front. Now, I didn't say the word safety car 3 times. I didn't summon Bernd Mailander, but I did say his name, so maybe that counts. I don't know. We shall see. But Bjorn de Boer leads us, but by now a minuscule gap, and it will be gloves off for the final 10 laps. I imagine we'll get 10 clear laps of green flag racing to finish us off for the evening, and we will go on to follow in the double point finale in Great Britain at the Silverstone circuit, of course, home to many of the race teams, but also home to some of the best races we've had here at the International Racing League since the end of season 1 anyway. And we shall see if we get any safety cars through that period. But hopefully, with 9 drivers remaining, we can avoid a further safety car in this race tonight. As obviously we are up against the clock to some extent, especially for ARL back there in 8th place on the medium tyres, new medium tyres for ARL. Sticky's down in 7th. And Speedy Spud is trying to catch the train of cars. ARL, there he is in 8th place. They have caught the train. We will have a complete field racing to a finish. I hope nobody gets too silly. I hope the restart is safe. And I hope that the drivers manage to navigate these final few laps then without further intervention necessary. Ricky Maru, 4th position, got ahead of Loop Racer. Now everybody's cars are in a similar condition. Low fuel, medium tyres. It's time to go racing any moment. The only exception is Speedy Spud, who didn't take the opportunity to pit again and go on to a softer compound of tyres. Maybe he's out of medium tyres now. I have seen drivers forget their allocation counts and go on to an old set of tyres under safety car just because they're trying to do the right thing and trying to pit under safety car. And the safety car for the first 4 or 5 races of the season were Bjorn de Boer's real Achilles heel. But he seems to have decided that conventional wisdom is just that, and he tends to do what most people do now under safety car conditions. Safety car lights are out. He will come into the pits. Bjorn de Boer will try and warm up those tyres to the best of his ability, and his 8-second gap is reduced to 0.3 of a second, pretty much. Bjorn de Boer can decide when to launch the car. He might do it halfway round the final corner. He might wait until they've finished the final corner, keeping a steady speed at this point, building the speed gradually perhaps, and that is the safest way to do a restart. Ønskue, not unusual for Ønskue here to be vulnerable on the restart. It is partly due to the fact that Bjorn is, by comparison, a lot more switched on, or certainly more competent with the tyre warm-up phase and tyre management. But Bjorn de Boer holding there in that first position at this stage, and he will really, really hope that Ønskue has mirrors full of Milan, who wants to get a best result he can out of today. Ricky Moreau and Loop Racer have both got penalties on the car, remember, so they are both going to drop positions unless they can open up a miraculous gap behind them. TKM is right with them as well. Into the piff path we go with 10 laps to go in this race. And Ricky Moreau in 4th place. Loop Racer holding on here, but slipping back, further back from Ricky than he was at the restart. Then we've got Sticky in the Red Bull. We've got ARL on the new medium tyres in the V-Carb. And at the back, Speedy Spud, hoping to pick up positions at the end of the race. Studios stopping by, just telling us he's got 8 penalty points from the last race. Yeah, I did see something about that. So it is at a full disqualification from this race, Studios. That was quite something in one single race, but I think part of it was qualifying, and just part of it was the Suzuka track design in qualifying, and I didn't feel like you were doing anything malicious, but you did hamper laps, I think, when I look back at the footage. So it was unfortunate. 4 points away from a disqualification, just couldn't show tonight. Is that right, Studios? Okay, well, hopefully you can show up for the double point finale and bury those bad memories of Suzuka behind you. Oh, big slide from Loop Racer, not for the first time tonight either. He does love to light up the rears and hang on to the car like that. Great to see. I'm playing golf, says Studios. Okay. Whereabouts in the world are you if you're playing golf at this time? It can't be Europe, surely. It is freezing cold. It's horrible weather for golf. Although I have once played golf in a blizzard. We had to cry off after 4 holes, but we did give it a go. Ricky Moreau, P4. Lots of tyre smoke out there as the drivers are pushing in this sprint finish to the race. As Loop Racer is defending hard. TKM round the outside. It might have been Loop Racer's smoke that they were all following, but TKM through past Loop Racer, who tucks in straight away, but might be vulnerable to an overtake coming from Sticky in the Red Bull just behind. Not quite, but Loop Racer will now have DRS on the next lap round if you can hang on to the back of TKM, who's promoted himself to 5th position overall. Milan still holding on to the podium, and we'll check out those penalties now as they run through. Loop Racer struggling, I think, on these new medium tyres, struggling away from turn 3 and releases Sticky again. Those are penalties on the car, so these are places he was likely to lose anyway, but he's going to try and hold on as much as he can here. He doesn't want to finish behind Spud, but as things stand, it looks like that's going to be the case, but still picking up points for Mercedes, and they badly need them in the team. Bjorn leads Ønskue by 0.6 of a second. Remember, Ønskue just played it cool in the closing stages of the sprint race and made sure that he was near enough to battle towards the end of the race. Just showing the telemetry difference here on screen. Not going to talk about it for obvious tactical reasons. And Ønskue is close enough to have a go here. will use a bit of that energy surplus he has and goes down the inside line, but Bjorn de Boer stays around the outside. Ønskud leaves enough space to continue racing together. They don't want one of them to crash into the other. They would love this to be a clean championship race all the way to the finish, but Ønskud eventually, smoothly gets by Bjorn de Boer and retakes the lead of the race with 6 to go here in Hungary. We've got Milan in third, but being pressured heavily by Ricky, who would love to come back to the league and score a podium if he can. His old sparring partner, Merckx, is not with us for the race, so Ricky would be targeting that podium, I think, with his underlying pace. It's not like the game has changed since he's been here. It is very much the same. The game doesn't really change post-September, does it? It's Milan in P3 and Ricky in P4. Ricky with a 3-second penalty, though. So it's going to be a very, very tricky job for him. Bjorn de Boer, 0.3 of a second away from Ønskud, getting a slightly tighter line coming through the final corner. And that might bear witness to possibly a touch more wing here than Ønskud. It looks like Bjorn has a harder time passing Ønskud than a touch more speed passing Bjorn than Bjorn can on Ønskud, but then Bjorn looks a little bit more comfortable in the corners. Ønskud characteristically lighting up those tyres over and over again, but you can do that in F1 24. I hope they will fix that for F1 25 if we're all still making these yearly purchases. I imagine we are. We're suckers that way, and they know it, I think. But Ricky Marou in 4th place in P2, in 0.2 of a second away from Milan, plus 3 seconds though. Sticky is not quite within reach of Ricky's penalty, but should finish with him very closely together. Bjorn is still 0.3 of a second away. Atsu saying, sadly we are. Sadly we are what? Not following you, Atsu, sorry. But you're going to have to help out with that. Studio said he is from the UK, finished at 5. I thought you were UK based, but he's been watching the footy. Boo. We don't like other sports being supported, Studios, especially football. That gets plenty of support. Thank you very much. I lost my son and his interest in motorsport the first time he saw a football match, and I never got him back. He was like a 4-year-old racer on a gaming rig, and he was absolutely glued to it with me at the weekends, and he just has absolutely no interest anymore, which broke my heart a little bit. It's Speedy Spud in 9th place then, circling the drain here at the back of the grid. GTK can't wait for the next season to start. I'm really looking forward to the livery reveal. I always love that part of the year, and having it all in one go is going to be a little bit overwhelming, I imagine. ARL, big spin, big slide, but didn't allow Speedy Spud through. Thankfully, the car's ghosted and didn't cause a big accident. So lots of people putting money into the game, it seems. Yeah. Keep going. Maybe one day we'll all be happy. I don't think that's possible. It's 1/3 of a second separating the leaders here with 4 to go, heading down into turn 1, and it's not quite there, but here comes Ricky to make the pass on Milan. Now Ricky might be thinking about getting a penalty removed. I don't think he'll care that much at this stage of the season, having been missing for a while, but he goes fully alongside. He wants to make a good race of it and enjoy these racing moments. Spud and ARL are fighting, but over the lower placed points right now than these two, as Ricky gets ahead of Milan. He can hope that Milan gets a penalty in these fights as well. That's another avenue. So he can either try and get his penalty taken away, or he can hope that Milan picks one up himself. Of course, he can't go looking to see how close to being penalised is Milan. And this is very, very quick, the menu system in the pits. But ARL is in 9th place. Ricky Marou drops down. Has Ricky crashed? He has. He's finally got some clear air on that front wing, and then he's decided that it was too much, and he's managed to chop off the front wing down into 9th place. I think we might get a retirement. And he's triggered a safety car at the last possible moment. Ricky. Why would you do it to us? Why? Unsku drive-through penalty for speeding under the pit and under the safety car limit. That's the biggest news of the race so far. Unsku drive-through penalty. That is a safety car delta infringement. What does that mean? It means he has gone too fast while the safety car has been deployed trackside, and the drivers see their delta on their game, and they get the warning that they're exceeding, and they have to get back underneath the correct time as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, Unsku was not quick enough into that scenario. A drive-through penalty. He'll have to serve that within 3 laps. That is within the end of the race. So at least we won't have any more safety cars after this one. I think we'll get away with a single safety car lap usually, because we usually have 2 green flag laps at the end of the race. Unlike, of course, the famous 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where we had to have a single lap under green flag conditions at the end of the closest championship in many years. It's Unsku leading with a drive-through penalty, though. That could demote him many places. That could be as huge for the championship as a disconnection was potentially earlier on today. Unsku, that is really unfortunate, and I rarely see safety car delta time infringements be lifted in the stewards. Maybe a collision penalty under the safety car. Yes, we've had that already this season, and Unsku didn't actually profit very well from that. Safety car, I think, is coming in. That is confirmed. Yeah, the lights are off. So Unsku, with that drive-through penalty, has to take that within 3 laps of receiving it, as far as I know. And he received that on this current lap. So we'll have a 2-lap race to the finish. We've got Milan looking racy out there. We've got Bjorn de Boer trying to stay with Unsku, and he does so. And he gaps Milan slightly. Bjorn doesn't need to make the pass, but he does need to stay ahead of Milan as they go into the first corner. On the penultimate lap, it's Speedy Spud side by side with TKM. Loop Racer overtakes TKM, who has more penalties than Loop Racer, so that's pretty important. ARL still racing without a penalty, could pick up several positions at the finish of this race. If you can avoid sliding into the piff path as he did on the previous lap, that will be his intention anyway. Bjorn de Boer is 2/10 of a second away now from the lead of this race, but Unsku drive-through penalty, that gets converted, if I remember correctly, to 25 seconds post-race. That will put him out of touch of everybody and make him finish in 9th. That could hand a major advantage, even though it's a double point finale for our season in Great Britain next weekend. It could put him in an almost insurmountable position, Bjorn de Boer. Of course, the same could happen to him as has happened to Unsku this race, but the chances are pretty slim in Silverstone. I'm sure that they would rather be duking this out wheel to wheel, but this is motorsport, and yeah, a very unfortunate situation there for Unsku. Here comes Bjorn de Boer, not really tempted, doesn't need to make the pass. There's an outside chance that place could get that penalty could get rescinded, but I've never seen it happen before. Loop Racer hangs on to 5th place on the road at the moment. ARL is risking things he doesn't need to risk here. He has no penalty. Everyone in front of him has, but ARL is going to streak into the lead, going through turn 3, into the lead of this group, going into turn 3. I got a little bit excited there, and ARL up into 5th on the road. Doesn't need the penalties of the cars in front now. The cars behind will be fine. TKM retires from the session on the final lap of the race. That's too late for any safety car to come in. Speedy Spud gets a 3-second penalty. Remember, Unsku is still wearing this drive-through penalty that will put him back to P8. That retirement of TKM has just given Unsku an extra point tonight, because he will finish at the back, but ahead of TKM, come what may here in the proceedings. ARL is trying to hang on, trying to get that 4th place off Sticky, but it's not going to be, I don't think. Here they come out of the final corner, and Unsku will win on the road, but Bjorn de Boer, I think, will take this one. It's Milan in 2nd position. ARL gets a podium on his return to the championship, and congratulations to him. I think holding on to a lot of ERS through that final run, and a great job, and a driver of the day, and I think he'll be happy because he stayed up extremely late to race with us from the UAE. So I think that has worked very nicely. He's just left a note in the chat saying, I'm picturing him with a cup of tea and just a swallow of tea and wild ending, he says, and he's not wrong with that review. There goes Bjorn de Boer. The streak continues. 3 on the bounce for Bjorn de Boer of Grand Prix victories, interrupted by a sprint win for championship rival Unsku. But Unsku with a drive-through penalty thanks to that safety car Delta infringement. Champagne bottle clink from everybody. The Williams team have been incredibly successful there. Had to send it around the outside into turn 5 and the final corner, says AJ, and we love it when the drivers send it and it succeeds. Bjorn de Boer wins the race then, and the point total from tonight. Milan in second overall. I should probably click to the results of the race. Milan in second, ARL in third, Sticky in fourth, Loop Racer. Great result for him in 5th place amongst all the penalised drivers. Speedy Spud in 6th, Ricky Maru in 7th, Unsku with the drive-through, our final finisher and the fastest lap. So he gets an extra point for that as well. Then comes our retirees, Tiki M. Nutter, Ivan Tonsik and Chuck Norris. Breathless stuff. I will try and have a voice left for next week's season-ending finale, double points round in Great Britain. But for us here at the International Racing League, from me, Webbo, thanks so much for your support. Thanks for engaging in the channel in any way you can. And we will catch you on the next race day.